When a society does not work right, it signals a shortcoming in its leadership. Effective, efficient, and purposeful leadership is essential for growth and development. It is the desire for every man to be a leader. Leadership is key to life, to the fabric of living, and especially to nation building. But what does it take to be a leader? And what is this leadership word that we all throw about? You are welcome to Chapters, and today we're talking about leadership through the amazing book, The Alphabet of Leadership, written by Dr. Maxwell Ubah. He's the Chief Executive Officer of Strategy House. He's a leadership coach, he's an expert, and obviously an author. And so it is my pleasure to welcome you today to Chapters.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I did not mention they're actually a medical doctor. So before we even go to the book, how does a medical doctor then become an author?
Okay, I think when I was in med school, I noticed that my professors, people that we hold in high esteem, that they've written books that we used to study in med school. I noticed that when they were given positions of authority, they couldn't lead the institutions very well. So I started asking, what does it take for someone to lead? It was that quest, it's like a 25-year quest that led me to London Business School to do my master's in leadership and strategy, and I gave birth to this.
I actually agree with what you've said, because the fact that you're a fantastic medical doctor doesn't mean that you can be a fantastic vice chancellor.
Exactly.
For a school, there are two different skills entirely. The fact that maybe, for example, you're a fantastic banker doesn't mean you can run a bank as an entrepreneur and the CEO of the bank.
Exactly.
So different skills need to be learned. So when did you start the journey of actually writing the book?
I think I started in 2014. You know, I've taught leadership in the last 5 years, I've taught over 10,000 professionals on leadership. Wow. When I came back in 2011 from London Business School, so from 2011 to 2014 thereabout, I've taught like 10,000 people, professionals in the oil and gas and banking and the rest on leadership. So, and every time you teach, sometimes they ask you, do you have this written down? So September 2014, I decided to put the concept into the book.
The book and to document it.
Yes.
And it is a fantastic book.
Thank you very much.
I started reading the book for Chapters, and then I realized that I have so much to learn on leadership. So I started reading it like a textbook. But I will start from the very beginning. And in the introduction, you talked about the what and the how of leadership. And you said one is constant, while the other is changing. Can you just discuss
Yes,
that?
the what of leadership is achieving results through people. The how is how you get to achieve results through people. As the environment changes, as technological changes take place, regulatory changes, economic changes, the pressure of Boko Haram, the valuation of the Naira and the rest, how you lead people is different from what has happened 20 years ago or 50 years ago. But the what of leadership is ultimately about results. Leadership is about results, but the how, it's like a football game. The goal of a football game is to win the game, but your strategies are different depending on the opponent, the competition, what your goal is for that particular game, and that's the how of leadership.
So if I hear you correctly, the way that I might have led maybe my team in 2016 is different from the way that I might have to lead them in 2017 due to the changing nature of maybe
Exactly,
the growth
exactly. The way you lead an organization that is 500 people and an organization that's 10,000 people are not the same. So in terms of decentralization, empowerment of people, engaging people would definitely be different as you go through one phase to the other. And that's the mistake a lot of people make. They are competent as technical people, but they forget that leading people is different from being an academician. Exactly. That's a whole world of difference.
So who is a leader?
Okay, I think there are various definitions. First, let me say that leadership has nothing to do with position. The fact that a man has position doesn't mean that that person is a leader. Leadership is behavioral. I know a leader by the behaviors that I see. And one critical behavior is the ability to accept responsibility. In the book, I talked about the difference between a male and a man. That the male is based on the chromosome. A man is your sense of responsibility. So a leader is someone that accepts responsibility for others, for their benefit. When somebody can accept responsibility for a group, for a nation, for a state, for a department, and for the benefit of those people that you accept responsibility for, then you're a leader, irrespective of your title or your position. That's, for me, the foundational definition of a leader, someone that accepts responsibility for others for their benefit.
In fact, I'll read a quote from the book, from page 9, and you said, great leaders are usually not ambitious for positions or power, but they are forced by situations and circumstances and the plight of the human condition to accept the responsibility of leading their people. So it's not like they just woke up and said, I want to be a leader. But something
drove them. Like Nelson Mandela, what drove him is simply appetite. And that was what drove him to accept responsibility for South Africans. And notice that when he became president, after a while he stepped down because he said the only reason why he took that position was to bind the whole of South Africa, to get that. Because he just noticed that if he did not put himself forth, the democracy that was just starting would have been destroyed. So he decided to put himself forth, but he wasn't positioned. He didn't become great because he was the president of South Africa. He became great because as Nelson Mandela, he stood for his people, he defended his people, he fought for his people, and sacrificed his life for that.
So if I hear you correctly, anyone can be a leader, regardless of your social strata, wherever you were born, however you were born. But then how do we then learn the art of leadership?
Okay, I'll start by saying anyone can be a leader. Leadership is in two phases. There's self-leadership and the people leadership. Self-leadership is you taking responsibility for yourself and for your small world around you. People leadership is when you are giving position over others to take that. And most times people fail in the people leadership because they've not learned the principles, the self-leadership part. And if you look at Nigeria or look at Africa, every organization or generation faces two leadership challenges, what I call the positional and the potential leadership challenges. Positional are the people you have in power, the governors, the senators. If I ask you how many of them are effective, Nigeria has 36 states. How many governors are effective? Globally, studies have shown that less than 25% of positional leaders are effective. So if you just take a dot on the map of the world and throw it somewhere, chances are in 7 out of 10 times, the country, that nation, is ruled by a leader that is ineffective.
Wow.
And the reason for that is because at the potential leadership space, that is people before the position, they've not learned the principles of leadership. So they get to the position, they repeat the same mistakes of those that have been there before. They clamor for changing the government and the rest, but they get there, they make the same mistakes. Because at the potential leadership space, they were not effective.
So what are these principles of leadership?
Okay, in this book, I talked about 26 principles, but the foundational principle is attitude. The foundational principle. Leadership begins with a mindset. And that mindset is it's not about me, it's about my people, it's about the organization, it's the ability to subordinate your interests for the good of the team, the organization, the nation. And I talked about two kinds of mindsets here that are wrong, the superstar mindset and the messianic complex. And once you can get the attitude right, that it's not about me, I don't want the spotlight to be on me, it's about my nation, it's about the team, and I'm taking decisions in the best interest for the team, then you're a leader. That's the foundational principle. Then when you correct the attitude part, the next part is about vision. I talked about bold dreams. Because leadership, they say, it's a journey, and the journey must have an end point, a destination in mind. Exactly. You're taking people somewhere. So where is that place? Where is the true north that you're taking people to? What exactly do you want to achieve in the next 1 year, in the next 2 years? Even the Lord Jesus said, follow me and I will make you fishers of men. There's a purpose, there's a destination. So leadership must be infused with purpose, must be infused with vision, a vision for the good of the team. That's the difference between a dictator and a leader. A dictator takes people to a destination, but for his own good. A leader takes people to a destination for the good of the thing.
Wow. Powerful.
Thank you.
We have to go on a short break. Amazing things on leadership with Dr. Maxwell Ubah. We'll be right back after the break. You are welcome back to Chapters, and today we are talking the very important subject of leadership. And with me is Dr. Maxwell Ubah, the author of the book, The Alphabet of Leadership. And literally, that means you have an A to Z.
Exactly.
You know, I didn't notice until I kept it, and I thought, okay, that's A, and that's B, and that's C. So, oh, it's actually A to Z.
Yes, it is.
Of leadership. But before we go on, there was something you mentioned, which was the 4 Ps of leadership, which was process, the person.
The person, the people, the process, and performance.
Just help us explain.
You see, what I did in that book was to give a framework for people to understand leadership. And every time you have a leadership failure, it's in one of those Ps. Usually, leadership is towards a destination, which we talked about, which is performance. But a leader needs people. So there's a people path. There's the process, how the leader leads, and there's the person of the leader. Now, most times people come to leadership because there's a performance challenge. But if you look at it, it's in one of the 3 other Ps. It's either the wrong
strategy or something.
Wrong strategy, you understand, or the wrong people in your team, or the wrong leader. If you take the book Good to Great, he talked about transforming organization, and he said at the point of transition, every good to great, by Jim Collins, every good to great organization has a level 5 leader. That's the person of the leader. It's the person of the leader that leads the people through a process to achieve the performance. And in this book, I talk
it's the person
of the leader that leads the people through a process to achieve
a performance.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes, it's the person of the leader. And most times, you see what leaders do is that they cannot look at themselves in the mirror to tell themselves the truth. Most times, they either blame the people or they blame the result. But sometimes the starting point is the person of the leader. And in chapter 20, I think chapter 25 of this book, I talked about the ideal leader. I said that you are your first follower. You see, leaders are so busy trying to get followers, but they've not asked themselves, am I the kind of leader that my people will want to follow? And there are 5 qualities I talked about. They are ideals. I stands for integrity. Are you a person of integrity? And integrity has 2 or 3 components. First, I talked about embodying your organizational values. So if you are the president of a country, I need to see you abiding by the constitution of that country. If you are the CEO of an organization or the pastor of a ministry, I need to see you living out the values that you want your followers to have. The second thing I talked about integrity there is competence. A leader of integrity is not because you don't steal money. Integrity also means you can do a good job. So there's a second part of integrity, which is competence. The third part of integrity is keeping confidences. A leader, you hear things about people. Just when I was coming here, I got a text about one of my followers. I need to deal with the issue, but I need to protect the person's integrity also, which is keeping confidences. Then we move to D. D is decisiveness. And I wrote a whole chapter on decisiveness that you may appreciate leaders for their humility, but it's their decisiveness in times of crisis, their toughness in times of crisis that galvanizes us to them.
Let me just read something you said there. You said, a leader must balance a tender heart with a tough skin, the heart of a dove with the skin of a rhinoceros.
Yes, exactly.
The tender heart is for the people, but the tough skin is for the problems.
Yes, for the situation. You see, sometimes we confuse the two. You must have a good heart towards people, but you must deal with the issue. So as a doctor, for example, if a woman comes or a man comes with a disease state, let's take cancer, for example, and I need to perform an operation. Why I have a tender heart towards that person, the situation requires that I be tough and I deal with it. Exactly. And you see, sometimes leaders cannot differentiate the two. So in order for them to be popular, they sacrifice credibility on the altar of popularity and end up eroding their leadership effectiveness. You must take the tough decisions because the situation calls for that. But you are doing it in the best interest of your people. Some of them might not see it in the short run, but you are doing it in the best.
Which is why sometimes you choose popularity. Because the right decision might not be not be a popular decision. Exactly. And people, you see people playing to the gallery and says, this is what they want, let's just play to it. But you look back and you find out that you wasted an opportunity. And there are presidents in this country who, they look back and they said to themselves, I wasted an opportunity. I was given this opportunity to turn this country around, but at that time they played to the gallery. And right now what they're doing, everything they're saying now is an opinion. You had an opportunity to turn the country, to do something, to take that tough decision, but you couldn't do it at that time, which is the decisiveness. Wow. Let's talk about communication, because you wrote a chapter on that and you called it communicate with an exclamation mark, because I think that's where a lot of leaders fail as well. So even if you have a fantastic strategy and vision, if you don't pass it across in a way that is understood by the followers, then there is no point.
Exactly. Communication is key. Remember we talked about leadership as a journey. So you need to be able to sell that journey to people so that the people want to buy in and follow you. So a critical part of your leadership is the ability to tell people this is where I am going. You understand? And why you need to be part of that journey. In fact, there are actually 2 chapters on communication. There's a chapter of what the leader does by telling the people, this is the destination I'm going. There's another chapter of the leader creating the channels where people can also speak to him, to hear the unheard. So in this chapter, I talked about 6 things that the leader must communicate: your mission, your vision, your purpose. You understand? We talked about all that: the goal, the destination, the values, the performance. You need to communicate that. Leadership is about communication. I need to know, where are we going? Why are we even going there?
Why?
Yeah, exactly. Why are we even going there? What is the benefit for me to embark on this journey? Notice this, that leadership, you see, every time you ask people to join you on a journey, they are giving up something. And in their mind, they're asking, I'm sacrificing something today for something tomorrow. And they're weighing the sacrifice and asking, is it worth it giving up my today for this promise of tomorrow?
Cost.
Yes, the opportunity cost. So a leader has to paint that vivid picture that tomorrow is better than today. And one way to do that is creating a burning platform situation. That, guys, see, the opportunities are so enormous that we cannot afford to remain where we are. And if you don't do that, you would fail in your leadership because people cannot see. Even though your vision is clear, even though you know your vision, notice the word communication is transferring your vision from you to the people so that it becomes their vision.
And for some reason, as you were talking, I was thinking of the chapter on question-based leadership, because it's one thing to communicate. And like you said, leadership is also helping and engaging your people. So and you gave the example of, I think it was James, and you said he wasn't working right.
Obviously,
and there are 2 ways to tackle it. Try to motivate, or just try to beat down. So explain question-based.
Okay, see, most times, as leaders, when there's a problem, we come with solutions. We come to tell them, this is the answer. And usually our answer might be wrong. Why not start by asking them, what exactly is the problem? Because James is not motivated. Maybe there's something wrong in the system. Maybe James was bypassed for a promotion. Maybe James is having a health issue. Or maybe James is going through some financial problem. And if you come with threat and says, if you don't, exactly, the first thing we do is use the big stick. James, if you don't improve your performance, you'll be fired. Or you come and motivate and tell the person, James, you need to take your work seriously. But if you just ask James, for example, James, what is the problem? You'll find out that you will hear things. I recently, there's a conference that I just came, a HR conference, and the lady was talking about engagement, which was a chapter in the book. And they said that they planned to give their staff bosses to ease the transportation problem. They've written for approval and the rest. And they decided to ask the staff, what exactly are your problems? And staff boss was the least of their problem. Wow. In fact, what the staff wanted was to have 5 days off, to do dance, to do party, and the rest, TGIF. The staff boss was the least. And they said when they did that, engagement had gone off the roof. If they had just assumed that the problem was staff boss, they would have missed it. So that's the role of question-based leadership. If you've communicated the vision, you can ask them, why are we here? What do you think we're trying to do? It helps you to understand your people, and your success as an organization is the sum total of the collective understanding of your people. If your people, if the understanding is wrong, it doesn't matter where you're going, people will be moving in different directions. That's the problem of the silo mentality, the tough walls. Our understanding are different, our interests are different, and if you don't bring questions into it, question has a way of aligning people's understanding to the common goal.
Dr. Ubah, you have blown me away just listening to you. Wow, okay, we will go on a break now. And when we come back, I want us to look at practical ways in which, already, like you've mentioned, there are leadership problems, especially in our society, Nigeria and Africa, and even many places in the world. You said 25% as a whole. So what are practical ways for people watching? We're all leaders in our own rights and our own spheres, and that people can begin, even in families, as mothers, as fathers. What are the practical ways in which we can improve leadership? But we'll go on a short break now. You don't want to go anywhere. We'll be right back. You are welcome back to Chapters, and it's been an enlightening conversation with Dr. Maxwell Ubah, the author of the book, The Alphabet of Leadership. If you have been watching, I am sure that you are itching to get this book, but at the end, we'll tell you where you can get a copy of the book. And I'll just continue our conversation. I know I said before we went that we'll go into practical ways, but there was something I remembered, and it was a chapter 5, where it talks about engaging your constituents. And the statistics you put there, personally, was scary to me, and I'll just read it out. You said the 2013 report on the state of the global workplace by Gallup paints a very sorry picture of the modern workforce. Based on the study, only 13% of workers worldwide are engaged or psychologically committed to their jobs. So if, for example, I put this crew that we are looking at here, that means up to half of them are not engaged.
I think you need to understand that when you have a small crew, likely everybody will be engaged.
Yeah, they are very engaged, actually.
Likely everybody will be engaged, because you see, the one-on-one interaction between you and them will bring them into that.
So it's when you have a bigger organization.
Exactly. As the organization grows, the tendency for people to become disengaged increases.
So I would then relate this to a national organization.
The 13% will hold true,
or maybe lower.
Or maybe lower. And we talked about two things here that causes disengagement: organizational trust. So when a leader lacks trust, integrity, you make promises you don't keep. You understand the promises you made during your campaigns, you did not follow them through. They see that you have the superstar or the messianic complex. You are not thinking about the whole, but you are thinking about a particular segment of people. You are not doing it in the best interest of the organization, the country. The disengagement level would increase. That's the thing we said there. And we talked about the relationship between the manager and the constituent. So once there's a distance in that relationship, and it happens in marriage, you understand? Yeah. People start engaged, and before you know it, it grows apart. So they become from engaged, they become disengaged and actively disengaged. We talked about 5 levels there, and people can move.
Certainly. Yes. But let's go into solutions now for the remaining couple of minutes we have. So for people watching, leaders that are watching, or even everyday people, we know that there is a failure in leadership, obviously. What are the steps we can begin to take? Baby steps, big steps, whatever steps. Even as a nation like Nigeria, what are the steps we can begin to take? Okay,
I think if we use the 4P framework, we'll just talk about the steps you can take. First, you need to define what result do you want to achieve. So for example, if you're at home, what kind of marriage do you want? If you are the boss over a business, what kind of business do you want? If you start with that definition of results that I want is the P, the performance P pillar. Then you come back to the person of the leader, you, and ask yourself, am I leading my people the right way? You understand that if they have a second chance, would they want to say yes to my leadership? You understand? That's the person of the leader. That's taking a look at the man in the mirror to say, is there something wrong with me? Is there something that I'm not doing right?
So I'll ask myself, am I leading myself? Will I want to follow myself?
Exactly. Would I want to follow myself? There's something I talked about. I call it the leader's identity quotient, not intelligent quotient, identity quotient. The identity quotient here is the willingness of your people to want to follow you. And here, that's the question you want to ask. 1 year after you've come into office, 1 year after your marriage, 1 year after you become the boss, are your people, would they want to willingly follow you, given a second chance and third opportunity? I know leaders who, upon resignation, upon removal from office, the people are jubilating, rejoicing, and you understand, celebrating that the leader is leaving. Wrong. Yes, if that leader had asked that question, am I leading my people aright? Then you come to the people space. A critical part of the people space is what I call EMC. Engagement, motivation, and competence. And there are chapters here. I need to engage with my people more because, you see, the results that you want, leadership is achieving results through people. So I need to find out at what level are my people? Are they engaged? Are they motivated? Are they competent? Competence means I'm investing in their dev skills, their development. And notice, Dr Maxwell said something that loyalty to the leader is highest when people have grown under the leadership of the leader.
Yeah, you have a chapter,
growing your people. So there's a chapter of growing your people. So if you look at EMC, the engagement, the motivation of your people, and the competence of your people, the process issue, you'd have solved like 80% of that because you've taken a look at yourself. And in ideal, I talked about your leadership style and all that, your emotional intelligence. If you've done engagement, motivation, and competence, you've done a bit of the process. And 80% of your leadership problem would have been solved just by identifying the performance that you want, looking at yourself, are you the kind of leader, and are you engaging, motivating, and developing your people? You'd have solved 80% of your leadership problem.
I'm thinking as you're speaking, trying to solve 80%
yes, you would have.
Of my leadership problem.
You would have.
But what for you is there was something you wrote, yes, I remember, the most important, well, you said one of the most important, but I'll read it. And you said, there are no great leaders. they are only great principles.
Exactly.
So it's not about this person is a great leader or that they are just applying.
If you remove the tapestry of his greatness, you find that underneath is simply the principles that that person has built his life upon. So if you talk about Gandhi, is truth and non-violent with negotiation. That's what Gandhi stood for. Same thing with Martin Luther King, same thing with Nelson Mandela. It's simply principles that make people great. They are not great leader. Nobody, they've debunked the great man theory. Because if you talk about the great, yes, so that means that women cannot be leaders.
Exactly.
So you find out that you have women that have ruled organizations, ruled nations, and they've done well. So it has nothing to do with the sex. It has nothing to do with the individual. It has to do with the principles by which that individual has built his life around. And that's the, for me, I believe is the greatest leadership secret, because
yes, that's what you said.
It means that everybody can become a great leader just by taking principles and deciding to apply those principles. Once you do that, you would achieve greatness. Nigeria has the potential of becoming a great country if we can just put certain principles. For example, if we put performance over politics, Nigeria will become a great country. And what do I mean by performance over politics? Is the question we should be asking ourselves is not zoning. Zoning will not solve the problem of Nigeria. The question we should be asking ourselves is who is the right person to lead this company to greatness.
Regardless of the zone they
yes,
come from.
regardless of where the person is from. Because we're talking about zoning at the presidential level. The governors are from the same state, but the states are not developed. So zoning will not solve our problem at the national level. What will solve our problem is simply enthroning performance over politics. So I'm voting based on the person that will take us to greatness, and not the party he's from or where he's from. So if we establish that principle alone, to say you cannot come to an office except you can show me what you have done, your antecedents, the things that you've done, and what you're likely to do. And in 4 years, when I'm going back to the polls, I'm holding you to your campaign promises, and I'm not voting based on sentiment. That principle alone would take us to greatness. It will change, because people that will be coming out now be telling people, this is what I want to do. You understand? Not because I know one godfather or I'm in one political. It's taken for granted that if you are in a certain political party in some states, you are likely to win, because some states are dominated by this party. If you know this godfather, you're like, so why would I want to work when my allegiance is to a godfather and in a political party? But once we start asking the question, performance over politics, did you deliver? And if the answer is no, we look for the next person. Guess what? In less than 10 years, I'm sure would have made, things we will start holding our leaders accountable. The budget at the end of the year. So tell us how you spent the money. You said this project. Let's look at the project. Did you execute the project?
And that's also part of it, holding the leaders accountable.
Accountable, exactly. Those are principles that once you establish them, then success happens. And in great organizations, the difference is simply that they have accountability for results on one hand, while in mediocre organizations, they have excuses for non-performance. And that's what you see. People give excuses, they say stories, and once you establish accountability, both from the leader to the subject and the subject to the leader, guess what? Greatness would happen almost immediately.
And I know this book is on leadership, but as we're speaking, at the beginning, you also wrote leadership is about the leader and the led. I called it the leader and the leadee, as for some reason. How effective can a follower hold a leader accountable in certain societies where there might be a dictatorial type of leader?
Okay, fantastic question. I think the first way to hold your leader accountable is for you as a follower to deliver results on your desk. So once you begin to deliver results on your desk, you see what happens. Your relationship with your leader will take a different turn. Your leader will hold you in high esteem. Your leader will bring you into confidence, because he knows that you're a star performer. He knows he cannot, in inverted commas, do without you. So when you walk up to your leader to say certain things, to question certain things, he will not take it as an attack. So first, I will say, deliver results on your desk. Second, I will say, build relationship with your boss. Because once you have a good relationship with your boss, every question, I have people who come up to challenge some things I do. And because I know I have a relationship with them, I don't see that challenge as an attack on my person. I know they want the best interest of the organization. Once you do those two things, one, you deliver results on your desk. Two, you build relationship with your boss, and you don't openly disgrace your boss. It's a lot easier for your leader to give you enough permission to challenge certain policies.
Wow. We have to end this show now. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
an enlightening guest. You've put us on our toes, and we hope that we'll be the leaders that need and that will change and turn things around.
Thank you.
I know that, like me, you've been impacted watching chapters today. Leadership, you are a leader, I am a leader, we are all leaders. We have to learn the principles, and then we have to put the principles to work. And in no time, the things that we see around our society that we think they're getting to us, things will begin to change. It starts with you, it starts with me, it starts with all of us. Thank you for watching chapters today. Until the next episode, God bless you.